Well, good morning. How are you? Okay, I've done my maintenance for the day, got my hair washed and the kitchen floor mopped. And what I worked on in my first walk of the day is a deep dive into metaphysics, because what I noticed, particularly at LinkedIn, that the atheist group there, which I monitor and somewhat troll, Um, they're really unhappy. They feel cheated. Okay, they feel cheated, just like my foster family felt cheated because they had no hope. They told me that when their life was over, it was over forever, and that was the end of it. And at the time, when I'm just 6 or 7 years old, I don't have the command of language to give them any comfort. And so today, as I was walking Percy around, what came to me is the structure of covenant in the Judeo-Christian um, paradigm that enables justice to work with fairness. You know, a lot of people argue over whether the Trinity is real or exists. And in this 30-year adventure diving into the relationship between God and Judaism and Jesus and Christianity, particularly plumbing the depths of the Urantia book and some of the metaphysical stuff, I've come up with a shortened summary of what I understand it, how it all works together. All right. Now, I will leave the link to the law here. And the Jewish law, what is called the Mosaic Law, is a behavioral bucket list of good things to do and bad things to avoid, so you get a good outcome in each case. 254. It's a bucket list of things. Yes, do this and don't do that. All right. And the one who objected to God's use of law was Lucifer, not Satan, because Lucifer is concerned with the ideologies that govern how societies operate. Lucifer is behind the New World Order. Lucifer is behind the UN Agenda 2130. Lucifer is the one who feels that God is too narrow to govern this world. And so Lucifer sets about with his factions to govern this world differently. Now, Satan is different, all right? Satan objected to the fact that ideology tends to overwhelm the human mind. And his objection, particularly to even the garden, was that such a silly request is going to have such a tremendously bad outcome. Why not question the doctrine? Okay, so Satanism generally attacks Christian factions, denominations, sects, cults on the basis that you people have no right to think that. All right. That's how Satan and Lucifer objectify and where they intervene in the world's controversies. When I was downloading some stuff about 25 years ago, I got this that explains how justification occurs under Judaism and Christianity. Okay, and let me read this to you because it's very plain, but it sets things out in a rational way. Each dispensation, Judaism and Christianity, conveys from generation to generation, and that's why bloodline is important, for all eternity, the warp and woof of justice with fairness. The purpose of Judaism is to articulate justice, freedom, and prayer by dealing with karma and slavery. The purpose of Christianity is to articulate fairness by dealing with industrialization, pollution, and disease. Their task, in both cases, is to suffer for the sins of previous generations until their societies are clean and peaceable. For the Jew, what is involved in his suffering is the realization that exploiting people for their money brings karma and dissociation. For the Christian, what is involved in his suffering is that prosperity and obtaining stuff are not fair to the rest of the people, who live on this planet. Both dispensations must learn to cooperate with diversity and not judge against it. Humans in the rest of the world provides sufficient experience for mastery of these goals, especially the people who are part of no dispensation at all. All right? Does that make sense to you? Right. So the law teaches justice because the people who do good should get a good outcome. And the people who do harmful things should be disrupted and corrected and put back on the path to doing good. All right. That's how that works. Now, the Trinity are a committee of three. Yahweh the Father deals with the behavior of groups of people who govern by law or don't govern by law, all right? And the Son, Jesus Christ, whose teachings all infer that intention is an essential part of actions and activities and justice, teaches relationships between and among people, all right? And that's where Satan intervenes. The Holy Spirit is known as the Holy Spirit of truth because that one has a command of universe coherence and can see and report how things fit together. All right. So when you hear people complain that Judaism being dominated by Zionism is corrupt and evil, well, let's talk about the Zionism, not the Jewish law, because the Jewish law does not propagate double dealing, which in the Quran is taqiyya, or protection tax racketeering, which in the Quran is jizya, or jihad, which is divide and conquer so you can conquer over other cultures. Okay, the evangelical behavior of Jesus was set up to pacify and improve the lives of the people, not to terrorize them. And the insistence on just law is a desire on the part of Yahweh to improve the lives of societies and cultures and communities by insisting that good behavior be acted out as a preference, not predation, not exploitation, not slavery, not sex slavery of children, not, forced marriage, and all of the threats to bloodline families come under the violations of holy law in the Mosaic law. Mosaic law is very specific about the sanctification, which means the placing in safety of children and families. The children are to be taught what is lawful, what is good versus what is harmful. The children are to be kept out of harm's way. The children are to be given at puberty the essence, how would I put it, the hygiene of a marriage that will hold together, okay? And so the accusation against Judaism and Christianity in their pure form as being either irrational or antisocial is simply an error. It's simply an error. And it's the people who say one thing and do something else who believe in just us, not justice, who are here to seek advantage rather than to let their yes mean yes and their no mean no. Okay. It's the sinners in both of those domains who have given holy law and the covenant of good intentions, what we call the covenant of grace, a bad name. And Judaism, having been separated into Torah Judaism versus Talmud Judaism, has helped the schisms and has helped the Zionists who are run by the Luciferian idea that conquest is best done by double dealing and protection rackets, which is basically the corruption that we have in the United States right now, that President Trump and Attorney General Barr are seeking and working to sort out and identify. As you know, the large problem with corruption in the United States has to do with the top executives of the FBI and the Department of Justice and the Department of State and the CIA. The top executives seem to be following the Luciferian line that says, do what thou wilt. There are no limits. There are no boundaries. Freedom is absolute. And so they practice mercenary behavior, mercenary commerce, gun running, drug running, money laundering, charity fraud. They practice crime as a protection racket. Well, the whole society is going to come down with the continued use of those methods. And I'm not getting personal about this. This is not about this politician or that politician. I'm talking about the methods that have been adopted, okay, at the top by the Illuminati. The Illuminati are Luciferians, all right, and some of them are also Satanists, which means they get their strength from exploiting and enslaving and experimenting on children. Okay, the evil has gotten to the place that unless it's dealt with now, there's not going to be anything left. All right, so if you just think about operating from principles of behavior in which telling the truth, being honest in your dealings, not saying one thing and doing something else, being honest in your business relationships, not setting up a scam or a scheme to rake off profits to the point that you can hoard, you can get rich and hoard money, and your victims or your customers are going to be paying a penalty. You see, it's all about our behavior. And the pedagogy of academia and the pedagogy of the church talks about everything else. They talk about everything else. How many angels fit on the head of a pin, and what is the constitution of the Trinity, and And is the soul immortal? And, they get off on giving the reasoning for opinions, the reasoning for opinions, the reasoning for opinions. And that is not a rational discussion of behavioral causes and effects and outcomes. And so we see the mainstream media is spewing forth opinion after opinion after opinion, but they don't have a clue what the method is that is taking us down the river and what the method might be to clean the riverbanks and to unpollute the river and unpollute the oceans. They're not here to tell us how we might solve any problem we have. That's what the MSM is not doing. That needs to be done. And the pedagogy of academia explaining one opinion after another and one timeline after another and one theory after another and one theory of operation after another simply does not address the intentions and behaviors between and among individuals and groups that cause the outcomes that we're seeing now. I'm trying to make this clear. Judaism in its original form and format is a rational way of looking at behavior. The Beatitudes of Jesus Christ, the way he taught human behavior, works in the long run. It's difficult in the short run, yes, but it works in the long run, as Jordan Peterson testifies. All right. So if your intentions are clean and your actions don't cause harm, then if you can actually be honest, you have perhaps achieved deserving to continue to live on. But the people who are invested and stuck in having to be righter than other people and having to prove they're righter by dominating, manipulating other people, they're the ones, because they refuse to learn what is good. They refuse to open their eyes to the truth of what is good, and they stick with their domineering methods. They're the ones whose souls are going to be judged against in the judgment, because they're the ones whose methods cause harm, and the outcomes of their methods are not only foolish, but genocidal. I feel very sorry for the souls of the New World Order. They are truly selling themselves down the river. Okay, I hope I've cleared this up a little. Please tell me if I have or if I haven't. Ask questions, because that's all I do. I'm just a grandma who comes here and tries to figure things out. And I try to figure out life because I've never figured out life yet. I'm still working on it. I hope you are too. We'll see you again soon. And thank you so much for coming by. You know, I'm non-commercial. I don't expect you to give me money, because money isn't the point. Time is the point. You give me your time and I give you mine, and we relate. Isn't that nice? Have a happy Thursday. Bye-bye.